overwhelm and collapse. This is an interesting subject, especially given what is going on in our world, in especially the Western countries of the world right now. I think that you'll see some interesting correlations to what is happening to all of our countries in this video. It's super interesting. It's kind of surprising that this has been planned or talked about for a long, long time. Hello, I'm Nikki. Welcome back to Off Grid Style. Let's get started.
The Cloward-Piven strategy is a socio-political theory first proposed in the late 1960s by sociologists Richard Cloward and Francis Fox Piven. The theory suggests a deliberate strategy to overwhelm and collapse the welfare system of the United States, leading to social and economic upheaval. While the Cloward-Piven strategy has been widely discussed and debated, it's crucial to approach the topic with an understanding of its historical context, its proponents' intentions, and the critiques it has faced. In this video, we're going to look into the Cloward-Piven strategy, its origins, its key principles, criticism, the ongoing debate surrounding its implications for the United States. But we're also going to look at the potential that this strategy would be an almost certain method to cripple any Western nation. Origins and context. The Cloward-Piven strategy emerged during a period of social and political turbulence in the 1960s. Richard Cloward and Francis Fox Piven, both sociologists and political activists, were influenced by the civil rights movement, the anti-war protest, and the growing awareness of poverty and inequality in the United States. Against this backdrop, they developed a strategy outlined in their 1966 article, The Weight of the Poor, a strategy to end poverty. Key principles of the Cloward-Piven strategy. Welfare enrollment. The core idea of the strategy is to encourage all eligible individuals to enroll in welfare programs at an unprecedented rate. By doing so, Cloward and Piven believed they could create a fiscal crisis, as the existing welfare systems would be unable to accommodate this sudden influx of recipients. Systemic overload. The intentional and rapid increase in welfare enrollment aimed to overload and strain the bureaucratic and financial capabilities of government agencies responsible for administering these programs. The authors argued that such strain would force government intervention and ideally lead to the implementation of a guaranteed income or other significant social reform. Crisis as a catalyst for change. The strategy relied on the belief that a crisis resulting from the overwhelmed welfare system would create an opportunity for radical social change. Cloward and Piven envisioned that the government would be compelled to respond to the crisis with transformative policies addressing poverty and inequality. Critiques of the Cloward-Piven strategy. Ethical concerns. Critics argue that intentionally overwhelming the welfare system raises ethical questions about the potential harm caused to vulnerable individuals who actually genuinely need assistance. Accusations of exploiting the poor for political ends have been leveled against Cloward and Piven. Feasibility and efficacy. Skeptics question the feasibility and efficacy of the strategy. They argue that the anticipated collapse of the welfare system might not necessarily result in the implementation of radical reforms. Instead, it could lead to a retrenchment of social programs or increased opposition to expansive welfare policies. Assumptions about the government's response. The strategy assumes a predictable response from the government, expecting it to willingly implement significant reforms in the face of crisis. Critics argue that governments may react differently, opting for austerity measures, increased restrictions, or other conservative policies in response to fiscal challenges. Unintended consequences. Detractors of the Cloward-Piven strategy warn of unintended consequences, including potential harm to the very individuals the strategy seeks to help. Disruptions in the welfare system could lead to increased poverty, social unrest, and a backlash against progressive policies. Debates and contemporary relevance. The Cloward-Piven strategy continues to be a subject of debate and discussion, particularly in the context of contemporary social and political developments. Some argue that aspects of the strategy can be observed in certain activist movements and calls for expansive social programs. But others emphasize the importance of distinguishing between genuine advocacy for social change and a deliberate strategy to overload systems. Social movements and political advocacy. While the Cloward-Piven strategy itself remains a controversial and debated concept, aspects of its principles can be identified in social movements advocating for systemic change. Calls for universal health care, guaranteed income, and other progressive policies reflect a desire for transformative reforms to address issues of poverty and inequality. Contemporary challenges. The United States faces ongoing challenges related to poverty, economic inequality, and access to social services. In addressing these challenges, policymakers and activists grapple with the need for meaningful reforms without intentionally causing systemic crises. Have the lessons from the Cloward-Piven strategy been utilized by other countries in the flood of migrants to the United States and other Western countries in the past few years? Is there an ulterior motive to crash the United States and other countries' social systems, ultimately causing unrest and potential vulnerability? The Cloward-Piven strategy, proposed in the 1960s, remains a topic of discussion and debate. While its core principles revolve around intentionally overwhelming the welfare system to provoke social and economic change, this strategy has faced criticism for its ethical implications, its feasibility, and potentially unintended consequences. Understanding the historical contents in which it emerged and the critiques it has faced is essential for a nuanced perspective on its relevance today. As the United States continues to grapple with issues of poverty and inequality, the Cloward-Piven strategy serves as a lens through which to examine the complexities of advocating for systemic change.
So what did you think about this video, about the fact that in the 1960s, they were discussing exactly what is going on today? Now, whether that is intentional or not, that it is going on today, who can say? I'm sure Uncle Klaus and a few other people can probably shed some light on that, but I don't really talk to him, so can't really get that information from him. This is super, super interesting and also kind of gives you an idea of if there is a nefarious reason for what's going on. Maybe this is it. Tell me what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I will see you soon. Thank you.